Meow. Meow. He sings me the song of Prometheus.
Hello, everybody. It's Fight Club Hubs, and welcome to the second episode of the year of GVN Live. I am joined by Jan, Dr. Dog, and Mark B. Writing. The new year is starting off all right, I guess. Kingdom Hearts finally came out. It's actually here. Is it worth a 13-year wait? Kinda. But, you know what? I want to finish the game before I give my final thoughts on it. But anyway, let's see how everybody's doing. Let's go around the room. Jan, how are you?
I'm doing good, actually. Got back into streaming. Been doing my full normal playthrough of Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm doing a story run first so that I can get the base story, and then I'm going to be doing a Proud Mode run second, but I'm doing an EXP lock Proud run. Specifically
geez,
just so that I can go for... Well, it's EXP lock full. It's EXP lock Proud, and I'm going for the 30 Mickey head version of the secret ending. So.
Oh, geez, that's right. They have secret endings. They always make them difficult. The first game, you had to find all 101 Dalmatians.
It's actually really not all that difficult. It's either 30, 60, or 90 based on the difficulty. Mm-hmm. So you either have to find all 90 Mickey heads, 60 of the Mickey heads on normal, or 30 of the Mickey heads on Proud mode to get the secret ending. And it's only just the one.
All right.
So, not terrible.
Yeah, I guess not. Brian, what's happening?
Not a whole lot. I'm just kind of waiting on things to come out. I don't really care about Kingdom Hearts, so that didn't do anything for me, and I don't really play Resident Evil, so that has done nothing for me. And Soul Calibur is garbage right now, so I have nothing to really play. You know, I'm not really expecting a whole lot from Dead or Alive. Like, I'll try it out and see how I like it. Like, I'll give it a shot, but I don't know. We'll see. And then Mortal Kombat. I'm not traditionally a huge Mortal Kombat fan, so like I played 9. I didn't really like 10 that much, so we'll see. But yeah, just basically working.
Are you disappointed that Shaggy got deconfirmed?
No, I didn't really care.
11?
Like, the whole thing is, even if they had humored everybody and done Shaggy, they already have most of their DLC planned out. So he wouldn't have been even one of the first DLC characters. Like, they would have started on him basically now, you know, at the earliest. And by the time he actually saw the light of day, that meme would have been dead anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. It's a meme. It's a 2-year-old meme that came back from the dead for this past month. I mean, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I really feel, because like it wouldn't have hit until we probably would have been their last DLC character, right? So we wouldn't see it for like a year. And I don't think enough people would have been interested in it by the time it came out for it to really matter.
I don't know. At the end of last year, Ugandan Knuckles made a comeback out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, but that doesn't require somebody to buy a $60 game and then buy all the DLC for that
this
$60
is true,
game.
Of course. But...
Yeah, you just need to be a racist.
Ooh.
It's true.
Yeah.
See, he knows.
What did I miss? Holy shit.
Do you know the way? That's pretty racist.
Uganda Knuckles. Yeah. I thought we were talking about something completely different. I was like, wait, how is Shaggy racist?
He's racist towards stoners.
Yeah,
What do you mean you people vampires?
I'm vampires. I'm gonna go. Oh my god, did they really just confirm? Wow, so JoJo and Dio confirmed for Jump Force.
They were actually already announced during Jump Fiesta Week or Jump Week or whatever. This is just the first time we're seeing gameplay of them.
Yeah,
that game I don't care about either. It looks like you literally just mash buttons.
It is. You know? It's
like
arena
Budokai.
fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know, so
just like Budokai. Only it's all of the Jump characters.
And like I don't like
yes.
I don't like the art style of Nightmares. So yeah.
All right. Now let's round it out and go to Mark. And hello, Mark.
Hi.
Oh, you're loud.
Yeah,
I think he did that on purpose.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey, got to start with some sort of positivity. So,
So-
That'll be the only positive part of the episode.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Oh,
who knows? We tend to get pretty down around here.
We're not down. We're just realistic.
That is, yeah, harshly realistic. Anyway, Mark, please, what have you been playing lately? Or doing?
Well, Resident Evil 2. We're doing a board game night on Saturday as well. I don't know if you're free, Robert, but you're welcome to attend if you want.
I'm working late, unfortunately. Yeah, I get
Well, you suck. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I suck. I admit it.
That's fair. But yeah, Resident Evil 2. I played that. I beat it. I've already got my game of the year picked, unless something else really good comes out. But to have such a strong competitor for game of the year already set in February is like.
I didn't
All
know you
right.
were such a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. That's awesome.
wow.
I gotta be
I
honest.
do
Like,
not
I
see
don't
it.
hate Kingdom Hearts or anything, but like, I played the first one, and just the mechanics of it just never worked for me. Like,
Yeah, I was not a fan of like the camera system or anything else in the first game. It was very painstaking to play.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that it's just like
Like they
time.
didn't know how to use the second analog stick for camera movement.
Well, yeah, plus a lot of time too.
Mm-hmm.
then Joel picked up the second one, and he brought it over, and I watched him play it for a while, and it just the introductory sequence where you're playing as a different character was very weird, and I understood eventually where they were going with it, but it just, as a concept, it didn't do anything to endear me towards the idea of going in and attempting to play this game. So it's just by that point, I'm so far removed from what Kingdom Hearts is that for me to go and play it now, it would be an extremely involved investment, and one that sadly I'm just not very emotionally committed to.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible.
Resident Evil, all I need to have done is played the first game. I know what happened in Raccoon City. Boom. Here we go. Let's jump into that shit. But I really love the way that they've developed the engine for the game into something
Modified
that
7 engine.
Mm-hmm.
what? Yeah, exactly. So it's the engine for 7 was made into the engine for 2, and it's just amazing to me that you could take an engine that can so masterfully handle a 3-dimensional first-person horror game like 7, but can also be used to sort of mimic the Revelations or the Resident Evil 4 engine. So it's just really great that they have an engine that can do both kinds of games that they can put out seemingly at whim. And
Yeah,
I
it doesn't
kind
seem
of
to really take them that long to turn these out.
no,
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying
And-
is they're not using the Frostbite engine.
no.
Christ.
So I really want to see them do like an outbreak, like a Resident Evil outbreak in this engine, because I would love to see a good multiplayer Resident Evil. And also, I would love to be able to just murder a zombie elephant in 3D. That'd be
That
fucking
would be good.
awesome.
That would be good.
Beyond that, I went back and I played the translated version of Phantasy Star Generation 1
Mm-hmm.
that was released years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the new Sega Ages version of Phantasy Star that they just released on Switch a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's still on sale, first off, but if it's still on sale, it's $6. Even if it's not, it's $10. From having played it, it's great. Buy it. I think it's a great update. But it's just amusing to me how, having played through both of them, neither of them is really what I would consider to be the ideal version of Phantasy Star 1.
Yeah.
It's kind of concerning. Oh, and I played the Anthem beta. It's good. I'm probably
interested.
going to buy it once I'm certain it's not going to blow up my PC.
I'm interested enough in what I've seen. Like I've always been like this. Reviews be damned. I'm going to play the game, and if I I feel like if I'm going to buy a game specifically so that I can play it, so that I can make my own mind on whether or not I actually like the game, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. I get that there's problems, but this is still beta, and we know that they are working on fixing a lot of the issues so that we can actually do all of that. But at this point, we're just waiting for them to basically be like, well, this is the finished product, and here are the list of problems. We are working on it. It is an evolving world. Have fun, and see if they actually hold true to fixing the issues, or if it ends up being a giant dumpster fire. Who knows?
Oh yeah, like I tried. The thing is, for me mechanically, I tried the open beta. Or, I'm sorry, the closed demo. The open demo weekend. I tried the closed demo weekend, and I couldn't get in because they were having server problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I was invited into it, and I couldn't even do anything beyond the first person segments, which sucked. But I tried the open weekend, and it was actually a lot of fun. I feel like the game has a very strong kinship with Destiny. Fuck you, Tycho. And
why are you
also
taking jabs at Penny Arcade?
Because Tycho specifically said that no sentient person, that no person with like an actual functioning brain would ever dare compare Anthem with Destiny, when the more reasonable comparisons would be Warframe and The Division. Every single person I've asked that said, quote, that guy's a fucking idiot. It's like Destiny.
It's basically...
And we take Tycho serious. Why? Because this man just rambles on and says random shit all the time.
Oh, he does. I don't take him seriously at all. I just like pointing out that he's a fucking moron. This is the guy who only started getting mad at journalists the exact moment that journalists pointed out that he was an asshole for not retracting a rape joke. It's almost as if he's a hypocritical piece of shit.
Ooh, who knew? I don't know. Honestly, I feel more like Anthem feels more like the illegitimate son of Destiny and Borderlands.
I don't really get Borderlands.
I
People have mentioned Borderlands. I don't really get it.
It's the way the game feels, the weight of the actual movement and the controls feel like a Borderlands style game with a Destiny sort of mobility to it. I think that's really where I feel the differences. Like I don't feel the war. Okay, so first of all, I don't feel Warframe in this game because it's too heavy. Warframe is not a heavy feeling game.
It's seriously fast-paced game.
Well, not fast. I don't think it's fast-paced at all. I think it's shit. But it's floaty. That's the difference between Warframe and Destiny and most other FPSs, is that Warframe is floaty. It has this real lightweight feel to the mechs. And to me, I feel like that because of that, it sort of lacks in what it should because of the way the characters actually move around on the screen. Anthem and Destiny, to me, it's the same thing as it's like the difference between trying to play Call of Duty and Halo. There's this big weight difference in how the characters actually feel as you're moving. And I think that I like that better than I do with, per se, Warframe or I don't even know what that other one was.
The Division?
Oh, The Division. I apologize. I thought you said something completely different. No, Division is kind of the same thing. It's basically like if COD was an MMO.
All right.
Yeah,
but it's third person.
Again, I'm not comparing it to the actual perspective. I'm actually comparing it to the way the game actually activates, the way the motion itself feels, and how the weight actually goes when the characters are moving through the area. It's basically like if COD was third person and was an MMO. That's what The Division feels like.
Right. It's systemically speaking, it may not be exactly a one-for-one match, but in terms of how the raw mechanics feel in one another, I feel like there's definitely a sort of agility. There's like a more fluid Destiny sort of mechanic here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real Destiny loop in terms of how the game is structured and designed. The aesthetics are very Destiny, and the game is very much, a Skinner box. Kill monsters, get loot. I think it's good. It's blowing up PC processors right now, so I'm going to wait until that's confirmed to be resolved before I buy it, but I'm buying it. And I'm a complete convert. I went from thinking that it was going to be shit and not even wanting to look at it to I'm probably going to buy it because I actually... The people at BioWare made a game that feels mechanically fun. Who fucking knew? But yeah, let's move on, Robert. I know you're...
has a warning at the beginning of the game saying, "Warning: this will blow up your PC." I never thought that would be a thing.
Yeah, I would hope that would not be their solution there. It's like, what are we, Bethesda?
But yeah, it's
like the disclaimer before Doki Doki Literature Club.
It's like, warning, this game will blow up your penis.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the first discussion or speculation of the day. So it has come out at GDC that Microsoft announced Xbox Live for everybody.
Technically?
Yeah, in a weird way. So pretty much what they're going about saying is that they want to try and create a structure that will expand upon cross-platform play between the Nintendo Switch, mobile devices, and, of course, their own line of consoles. They've already done this, of course, with other games like Rocket League and Minecraft, and they will hope to expand on that. In terms of like services for Xbox Live, like on the Switch, I'm not exactly sure what they'll do. I mean, they do have like, the Xbox app and whatnot on mobile devices. But
what I've found so far on this, because I know that I was the one that sort of found this, and so in doing some additional looking into it, basically what I've sort of seen at this point from what they've been talking about is they are looking... Okay, so the original idea was basically they had this idea for a panel that they submitted to GDC 2019, and they basically stated that what they wanted to do was have the ability for Xbox Live and the Xbox Live infrastructure to be placed in such a way that people have access to the SDK, which means that people have the ability to create applications that are used within the Xbox Live infrastructure so that you have access on iOS, Android, Switch, as well as cross-play compatibility with Windows 10 PCs and Microsoft Xbox One. This also allows for additional information to be used with your Xbox Live account, such as achievements, friends list, game history, multiplayer, and multiplayer abilities. However, a lot of this has already been taken down. So what that means, we don't know. Is this really something that they're working on? Was this a leak that was not supposed to be leaked? It's difficult to say. The only thing that we got was basically a blurb that read, Xbox Live is about to get much bigger. Xbox Live is expanding from 400 million gaming devices to reach over 68 million active players to over 2 billion devices with the release of our new cross-platform XDK. Get a first look at the SDK and enable game developers to connect players between iOS, Android, and Switch, in addition to Xbox and Microsoft Windows PCs. So that, in a nutshell, is exactly what we really anticipated as far as what crossplay is actually supposed to look like. The problem is, this sounds like it's something that is... to me, this feels like it could be one of two possibilities. This is either a power play, because Sony is still on this weird tangent fence of, we want crossplay, we don't want crossplay, we want crossplay, and it just kind of goes from there. The other side of it is that they are confirming what a lot of other people have basically said, and that they may not make another console again. They may purely just go software and services. So
what? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's in a case like this, it's hard to gauge where any of this is going until we know hard and fast exactly what it is that they're looking to do. Because if they're going to open up the Xbox Live SDK infrastructure, what does that actually mean, A, for the console, and what does that mean, B, for the lifespan of what Microsoft is doing for Microsoft Gaming?
So it's my understanding, and I haven't looked deeply into this, I've just kind of graced the surface of it, but it's my understanding that this was meant to be a GDC kind of keynote kind of thing. And the whole point of it was to basically take what they've done with Xbox Live and Windows, like Live on Windows, and expand that to say, because basically right now, if you do cross-platform, like you have to kind of have your own user interface thing where, I signed into my Rocket League account, and then that way I can talk to my friends who signed into their Rocket League account on other platforms.
Right.
And from my understanding is what Microsoft wants to do is say, as opposed to forcing a publisher, a developer rather, to create that kind of new sign-in login system that they're saying, here, you can use Xbox Live, so that somebody can just create their Xbox Live login or just use their existing Xbox Live login, and boom, you've got cross-play. Because at that point, you can then connect to anybody on Xbox Live, whether that's your Windows PC, your Xbox, or with these new devices, your iOS, your Android, or your Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume they'd also offer it to Sony, but Sony probably said no. So
but see, that's the thing that really is kind of weird about this, is because they don't mention anything about offering it to Sony at all. This looks like it is purely just a straight to Nintendo, straight to mobile device sort of thing. I think this is also interesting because it comes at a point where Microsoft recently stated that they are absolutely 100% nixing Windows 10 for phone OS. It's gone. It is no longer going to be made. It is no longer going to be offered on devices. And they flat out said, either go to iOS devices or go to Android devices, because Windows Phone as an actual mobile OS is gone.
Because nobody was buying the hardware, so there's no reason to make the software. There's no hardware for it.
I had a Windows 10 phone.
Keyword had.
It broke though, so.
It's the same thing with BlackBerry. BlackBerry has one or two devices associated with it at this point, but they largely don't exist. Most of your BlackBerry style devices are going to be emulated on Android because it's just not an OS anybody gives a shit about anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it is my understanding that this was more to make a unified system. And I'm sure I would be shocked if somebody at Microsoft didn't email Sony and be like, hey, we have this. Do you want in? No. Okay, just check it. You know what I mean? Like it just makes sense for Microsoft to offer it, because then when all this comes out and all this gets confirmed and somebody goes and asks Phil or whoever, hey, why wasn't Sony included? Then he gets to go, we asked them.
So here's a question I have. If Microsoft is offering these SKDs for companies to use to create a network between consoles and platforms and all that fun stuff, what's to say that there isn't somebody who can get a hold of this SDK and attack Microsoft's Xbox Live infrastructure?
Because you would still have to have all the security behind it is still in place. Like literally that's literally saying, how come somebody hasn't gone to Activision and hacked into there and gotten access to it? You know what I mean? Because most developers, any developer really that has made an Xbox Live game has access to this kit. Mm-hmm. The only difference now is that Microsoft has made it so that the SDK works on iOS devices and Android devices and Switch. Like that's literally all they're doing is saying, hey, now you can use Xbox Live technology, Xbox Live servers, Xbox Live UI, Xbox Live system features in your games to make them cross-platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that somebody couldn't, use the information in the SDK to eventually, attack Microsoft. But, you could do that with any tool if you have a sufficient enough knowledge of how to breach their security. It's the SDK is basically just app development tools. It's not stuff that really gives you information on how to enumerate the security protocols they're using and how to breach them.
Right. And this is nothing new. Like I said, the SDKs have been around forever. All Microsoft has done is made it so that these SDKs will work in conjunction with the other OSs.
Right.
Like the simplest way to think of an SDK is sort of like a dev kit.
Mm-hmm. Basically, what they're offering is it's think of it as being able to do app development on an actual Android or iOS device. They're giving you the tools to be able to upload or to be able to integrate the Xbox Live infrastructure into these devices, but that's as far as they're letting you go. Having the ability to actually do parts of it, but not having full access to it, means that the likelihood of them being able to create some form of hack is pretty nil. Like, it's very low. I mean, the same question, and I know you're thinking, that's crazy. How would people think that? The same question came out when they initially released the SDK for the Kinect. So...
yeah, it's basically, hopefully that the developers actually take this up, because I would love to see, I don't know, Tekken 8, where I can hop on Xbox Live on my PS4. Well, it won't be PS4. Hop on Xbox Live on my Switch and talk to my Xbox Live friends on whatever platform. Like it would almost become a sort of Discord app, where you don't have to worry about what platform are you on. It's just
Exactly.
like, hey, I'm
Everything's
I'm
universal
gonna
at
hop
this
on
point, yeah.
Xbox Live. Okay, what are we playing?
Could add a messaging service to the Nintendo Switch, and maybe a
Well,
real
no,
form of
no,
communication.
So basically, it'd be Xbox presents Skype.
Yeah, no, that's literally what it's gonna be. But it'll be interesting.
That is the thing.
On Switch, if a Switch developer has access to the Xbox Live, everything, then if they're making a cross-platform game, does that mean that I get voice chat on my Switch via Xbox Live? Because it should. That's what it should.
That's the thing. They did state that one of the accessible things would be your friends list, which means parties. If parties is available, then absolutely you will be able to use the Xbox Live app as a functioning on Switch, on phone, on iOS, Android device voice chat program.
But here's the thing
Which
with
would
how
be really
the
interesting.
Switch works. Usually they just only run one application at a time. Are we going to be able to have like an app overlay with Xbox Live services in the game?
It would have to be. Yeah, it'd have to be some sort of
exactly. Yeah, you'd have to overlay, or you'd have to have some form of. It would be intrusive to what the actual additional application you are currently playing is actually using. It would have to inject the SDK from the app for the Xbox app into the game you are actually playing for it to actually function that way. Because otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it, because the Switch is still using the old, 3DS infrastructure of one application at a time. Any additional applications that are opened automatically pause and background any additional applications that are currently active.
Well, with the exception of the OS, because the OS is obviously still running in the background.
Right.
So theoretically, the Xbox Live would just run in conjunction to the OS. What I'm imagining happens is that the Xbox Live services are integrated into the OS when that app is running. You know what I mean? When that game is running. That's what I've got to assume, because otherwise I don't think Nintendo would just allow this superior service to just come in and be like, here you go. So I've got to assume that it integrates with the OS so that it's running it in conjunction. So you're not really having two apps open. It's just that Xbox Live is running alongside the OS.
I think, though, the other issue with that, too, becomes if that's because if you think about what functionality is available on Xbox Live normally versus, say, Silver versus Gold. If you're paying for a monthly subscription, you have access to all of this extra content, including online gaming, voice chat with parties, all this other stuff. Technically, you could do that with the Microsoft app. I could create a party on the Windows app of the Xbox app and create a party and talk to people who are currently playing games on their Xbox. So, people are like, oh, well, if they're going to do voice chat, you've got to pay for it. It's like, but you're not technically going to need to pay for two accounts. You're only going to need the online for Switch because that's what gives you the multiplayer access right now. So I don't know. There's this weird sort of infrastructure thing that you've got going right now that is weird and different, and I think is going to be interesting to see what they do with that, because of how, I know that the Android and iOS stuff is going to be easy because it's you can already do it.
So, is there a possibility
with the Switch it's going to be crazy? That's what I'm interested in seeing, what the Switch does with it, because of just the inherent nature of Switch OS.
So, with the possibility of Xbox SDK on the Switch, is there a possibility we could see some app features on there, streaming your Xbox to your Switch, or maybe doing cloud-based gaming or whatever?
No, because this is not the entire suite of Xbox utilities. This is just Xbox Live. This is literally just to enable a unified cross-platform structure.
Okay.
And the real question, the only question really is, are people going to have to pay for it if they don't already have Xbox? Because obviously you won't need Xbox Live to play Switch games online. But if I want to play cross-platform and use all the Xbox Live features, do I just have to have Switch online? Is there a little key that turns? I have Switch online, I'm paying for an online service, I'm good? Or is Microsoft going to try to make a money play on this as well and say, if you don't already have an Xbox Live Gold account, you pay maybe, $5 a month or whatever, and then you get this full suite. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm wondering.
Maybe,
what
I
are the
don't know.
restrictions going to be? Because if you just have silver, you can't do the online play and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But at the same time, why do I need gold on my Switch when I'm already paying for Nintendo's online service?
Right, exactly.
So it's going to be like, that's going to be the question is, do you have to pay? And if you don't have to pay, then how limited are the features?
Right, and I think that was really where a lot of the questioning and a lot of the problems were coming from like this, because of the fact that this is still just a leak. We don't know, and we're not going to know until at least GDC, if not maybe after, now that this has happened. Like, they're going to say, yes, this is a thing that's come out. However, these are the limitations. So like I said, I think it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with it. But at this point, it could be, it could be any number of different things that they actually do for it that creates that. It's difficult to say.
And I mean, honestly, like, Sony's going to be hurt more and more by this because, like, let's say, for example, you've got Dragon Ball FighterZ 2 comes out, right? And Dragon Ball FighterZ 2 comes out on everything, okay? And you can play cross-platform with everything but PS4, because if Xbox Live is your primary cross-platform development kit, then guess what? It makes it super easy for you to connect everything but PS4.
Right.
So at that point in time, because right now, in most cases, okay, PS4 can play with PC, and Xbox can play with PC, but Xbox and PS4 don't talk. For the most part, there are some exceptions. So if everybody starts using this Xbox Live kit, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, you can play with everything but PS4. So now, if I have other consoles, and I want to play with friends that have consoles I don't have, or different consoles or whatever, then am I just ignoring the PS4 version? Am I going, I'll get on Xbox, PC, Switch, Android, or iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because exactly. If I want to be able to play with anybody, that's what I do. You know what I mean? Because my options are, do I play with only PS4 or do I play with everybody else?
Right, exactly.
So, and I
don't
feel
know.
like
I think
to that point, it's and then if you look at next generation coming, right? Because this is all a precursor to next gen. So if you look at next generation coming, when you add Gamer Pass to it, or Game Pass, sorry, when you add Game Pass to it, when you add the rumored $129 Xbox streaming box, then all of a sudden Xbox and PS5 are neck and neck in sales, or Xbox is maybe even beating PS5 in sales. And then you add this to it where, Switch is already doing really well. And so I can play this game on Switch online with my friends that have Xbox Game Pass, which just picked up the game because it dropped on Game Pass day and date with the retail version. And then why am I even buying it on PS5?
Right, exactly.
So I think it could force Sony's hand.
I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that it's because Sony has gotten to a point where we're not really sure what they want to do because they keep waffling back and forth on the problem. It's hard to say. Like, at this point, maybe they didn't get approached because they didn't want that conversation yet. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure at the very least, somebody at Microsoft emailed somebody at Sony to be like, hey, this is the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine they didn't at least offer it, even if they knew Sony would say no. Right, exactly. So, and again, I don't know. That way at E3, when Sony comes out and goes, $500 PS5, then Microsoft goes, oh, by the way, you can play with everybody but Sony. And when you ask me about it, it's because of Sony. Go talk to them. Right, exactly.
It'll be like the freaking the E395 all over again. $299.
Oh God. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants that again. That was awful.
All right. Anyway. But so technically, if anything, Microsoft is charging head on, trying to change the landscape of just online gaming in general. It looks like trying to get the upper hand on Sony if Sony just doesn't want to play ball. What does the landscape look like to you guys in the next 5 years? Like, do we have a majority? Do we have a slow increase in platforms that are using the SDK? Mark, what do you think?
I guess it really depends on how much Microsoft is charging for it and what kind of value-added features come from offering Xbox Live. Because the thing to keep in mind right now is that, if Discord were somehow or another added as a partnered application that you could utilize inside of Switch and Xbox and PS4, Like that would shit on a lot of the ideas of utilizing Xbox Live as a service.
Absolutely.
Well, no, because the main thing for offering the SDK is for the cross-platform play. Like, yes, you get the voice chat and all that.
Yeah,
but
the cross platform. I'm not saying it's gonna shit on all of it. It would shit on a lot of the social organization get-togethers, things of that nature aspect of it. Yeah, like the cross-play. The cross-play is going to be a big thing, assuming that Nintendo definitely wants to go in that direction. There's a lot of conversations that I think need to happen before we can definitely say what this is or what it's going to be. But if we're working in an ideal landscape, like the cross-platform play is going to be, I think, it's going to be very interesting to organize around, but I don't know that they necessarily just need Xbox Live for that. Like,
not specifically.
Monster Hunter World could be compatible between the PC version, the PS4 version, and the Xbox One version right now. They don't need Xbox Live in order to broker that communication. If the developers wanted it to happen, it could happen. But the problem is that the owners of the platforms are like, no, we're not going to allow this.
Mm-hmm. Again, I think a lot of this is purely based on the fact that this isn't just like them being able to develop a game that runs via Xbox Live's SDK on Switch or on an Android device. This is purely for connectivity for existing games that are already multi-platform that will be able to allow for those people to communicate via Xbox Live on those platforms, proving that there is that multi-console compatibility for games like things like Rocket League and Fortnite and all these other games that are out there right now that have crossplay across the platforms. Gives you the ability to understand, yes, we have more games that are coming out and things like that are going to give you the ability to actually have more content across all of the platforms and have more connectivity with those platforms. So in a case like that, you've got things like maybe you've got new multiplayer games that are going to be coming out that are a big deal. Like, let's talk about Apex. This brand new battle royale that came out of the absolute left field that nobody saw coming from Respawn. And it's free to play, and it's multi-platform, and this would be a prime game for something like that to be pushed out into new territory. And now you've got multiple players being able to play it across multiple platforms that you didn't have that connectivity before. So now all of a sudden you have the ability to basically say Microsoft with Xbox Live on Switch to play this new game or whatever kind of additional multiplayer that's coming out soon has the ability for you to basically go, here's this, like, there's a specific genre now that you can start playing in a more community-based platform by using Xbox Live on your Android, on your iOS, on your Switch, and having the ability to play these games. Now, if Sony is basically saying, well, the game is out on our platform too, you're like, yeah, but it's only against other Sony players, and let's be honest, that limits the amount of player base that you've got, knowing full well that the SDK has been provided to Nintendo for the Xbox Live infrastructure. So now you've not only got Xbox Live parties for the voice chat across devices, but now you've also got the interconnectivity of these newer games that are coming out, and you're hitting a market of relatively untapped potential based on these worlds and based on these games. There's this whole nother level of monetization that you get by having multiple players playing across multiple platforms, which means now I've got 3 different systems: phone, Switch, Xbox, or PC in this case, for majority of the people, where you're actually going to be able to play this game across all of these different platforms at any given time and still have access to your friends list and party chat via those devices as well. And I think that's what they're aiming for. I don't think they're going to be developing games specifically to be used in the SDK. They're going to be developing the games around the multiplayer platforming concept and making it so this crossplay actually exists in a much more unified place versus having to use 4 different styles of communication. Because let's be honest, the party system in the Xbox or in the actual Xbox OS is probably the better of the console-based voice chat connectivity. Using PS4 for that kind of content is rough. It's really rough to create a party system that works correctly in the PS4. So I think a lot of it is purely just, we've decided we're not going to work on multiple platforms. We're going to make one platform that unifies across all devices so that people have that connectivity for the party and for the voice chat and for the gameplay without having to worry about whether or not you're trying to learn different. Like it's the Skype versus Discord versus Steam versus like the billion D thing. Like, what did we used to have back in the day? Yahoo, AOL, ICQ. Like, who used all 3? Everybody. And that's why they made other programs you can put all of your stuff together in, Exactly. So you had all of these other voice chat protocols and all these other text chat protocols that you used to have to log into that you didn't have everybody on every single friends list, because if you didn't use one, you'd have to get the other. This is the same concept. This is Microsoft trying to create a unified voice chat, unified system that works across all platforms and not just across their platforms. The problem is, and I think this is where a lot of the controversy comes from, is where's Sony? Why is Sony not in this conversation? And why is it only Switch, Android, and iOS? Why is Sony not involved with this? That's the big question.
And I think that's 100% on Sony. Because, like, again, like the way I imagine this is I boot up whatever game I want to play, and then I log into my Xbox Live, I open up my friends list, and I invite my friend who's playing the game on Switch, my friend who's playing the game on iOS, my friend who's playing the game on iPhone. We all hop into the same party, and we're off. Whereas right now, like with the Monster Hunter example, if you had Monster Hunter playable cross-platform between the Xbox, PS4, and PC, it would be probably very similar to what Street Fighter V is, in which case you have your own Capcom login that allows you to connect to these people. And you don't really get into a party, you don't really do any of that. It's just like, it's a very rough system. Whereas here, they make it easy for developers to go, here is how you make a cross-platform game. You literally use this SDK and everything is done for you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just going to be super easy when literally I just boot up my Switch and open up my friends list and be like, party, invite, we're there.
Exactly. So it gives you, I don't know, like, I've probably talked too much about it, but at this point it's like, I think that Zig brings up a good point, and I think that's something we should touch on too, is that what happens if you choose not to subscribe to Live? Are the games going to be built based on the Live platform? Is it going to be based on the device platform? As we stand right now, right now, of the 4 devices that were noted, technically 5, but Xbox, whatever. That's where it came from in the first place. We know it exists there. That is a silver-based product. Having the ability to gain access to parties, voice chat, and instant communication on the actual Xbox console is part of silver. It's just inherent to the OS. The same thing could be said about Windows PCs. If you have the Xbox app downloaded on your PC, you have access to the exact same friend list, party, and voice chat capabilities on your PC as you do on the Xbox console. So the other 3 things that we have to worry about is, how is the integration going to work and especially on games that are going to be released on a mobile platform, so iOS and Android, because you do not pay anything to play any of those devices online except for your normal monthly cell phone bill or your Wi-Fi at home. So I don't think Live, like a paid Live subscription, plays into the entire concept of how these games are being developed. They're being developed for the device, not for the Xbox Live platform.
Yeah, and the only thing that I see is, like, to get the basic Xbox Live services, I think that's free. I don't think you pay anything for that because, like I mentioned earlier, on Switch, you're already paying to play a game online on Switch. Right. The only thing that this adds is the unified structure to be able to make it cross-platform. So I think what Microsoft might do is say, if all you want to do is have your basic Xbox Live features, your voice chat, your parties, all that kind of stuff, your cross-platform play, that's all integrated. You don't pay anything extra for that. But I think they'll offer a gold sub where maybe it gives you extra perks. You know, I don't know what those perks would be, but I could see Microsoft being like, hey, you just want to play, talk to your friends in chat, that's free. But if you want these cool bonus features, then you can join Xbox Live Gold, you know? Like, I can see something like that happening, you know? But
I could also very easily see Microsoft sort of financially negotiating something where cross-platform play exists, but is facilitated by them. So you would need to have Live in order to do proper cross-platform, just because, like, you know, they toss a little bit of money around to make sure that they're involved in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like
now, that would, I think, end up encouraging a scenario where you might start seeing other third parties trying to play that particular shell game as well.
Right, exactly.
So I definitely feel like Microsoft is on the verge of a really great idea here, but I also very much feel like they're on the verge of another 15 companies are trying to do the same thing that one company came up with that was fine. You know, it's going to be another streaming service. It's going to be another store platform type deal where one company comes up with a way to facilitate something that everybody really wants, and then everybody comes forward and is like, well, us too, we're also going to do that thing.
Yeah, but like in this case, like Microsoft has direct access to every developer basically. So like in order for some other company to come in and offer a similar service, they have to have not only access to every one of those developers, but they have to give those developers a reason. Like most of these developers already know all the features that's offered via Xbox Live. You know, so you don't have to convince them of anything. Like a lot of these developers have made Xbox Live games.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like you would need to have a huge incentive for somebody to use, you know, oh, here's Zillow's brand new, you know, multi-platform service. You know what I mean? And I also feel like it's probably going to be free just because if you get Fortnite 2 on Switch or Fortnite 2 on Android and you connect via Xbox Live to your friends on Xbox, you know, and you're talking about Anthem 2 is coming out soon. You're like, hey, okay, what's going on? You guys are going to get Anthem 2? Like, oh yeah, I have Gamer Pass, so I get it for free. I don't have to pay anything extra. Oh yeah, that's really cool. Oh man, I wish I had Gamer Pass. You know what I mean? Like, because you're gonna start having conversations like that where you're talking to your friends playing one game, asking about the new game that's coming out, and all the people on Xbox are like, yeah, I have Gamer Pass, so I get that game for free.
Exactly.
You know, and then you're gonna make your people on Switch go, oh man, I want to play Kingdom Hearts 4 Battle Royale for free at launch. You know, and that's gonna like it only benefits Microsoft because with Gamer Pass, which no other platform has right now, they have a huge advantage. If they get a lot of these games day and date as a retail version, then people are gonna be like, yeah.
I think there's, like I said, no, so I'm just gonna reiterate what I said at the beginning of this. I feel like this isn't just about the SDK and making it platform specific or making it so that you can really just have this unification. Microsoft's making a power play with this, because of the fact that they understand that there is a market for this. And it's at such a point right now that if they're smart enough about it, they get where they need to be sooner than where Sony is going, even though we've already got this big leak about the fact that PS5 is supposed to be, you know, has been patented for backwards compatibility. We don't know
which
what
it
that
has
really
to, by
means
the
yet.
way. There was no choice
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
matter. Like, it had
absolutely. But now we have this possibility of maybe they're waiting for the PS5 to come out before they unlock the ability for additional SDKs from other major companies like Microsoft to be able to put things like this on their system. Maybe they're waiting for something like that.
Let's be 100% real here. This is Sony being a Japanese company in the lead. That's all this is. This is Sony not wanting to play nice because they don't have to. And this is PS2 era Sony, where they literally go, we do what we want. We don't care. What are you going to do about it? Here's a $600 PS3. Eat it. Love it. And then they go, oh wait, there's a competitor that's beating us?
And the thing about that, though, is like this, and I'll sort of end my whole shenanigans with this, is that if you go to most major electronics stores, like if you go to a Donkey right now in Japan, if you go to a Donkey, you're going to see that
the video game portion is literally split in two. On one half you have Nintendo, and the other half you have PS4, and that's it. There is no green, there is no Microsoft. Japan does not care about Xbox. They don't. And I'll be completely honest when I come out to say that most people, most common people in Japan don't even have a computer, or the computers that they have are not for gaming. They are specifically for just daily life things. They do not go out of their way like they do most of the rest of the world to make a gaming PC the primary focus of their household. It is a much more rare thing for a PC to be on top versus a console. Hence the reason why it is the way it is, and why the Xbox, because it was built to be integrated into the home as in like an all-in-one device, is not something. Even the 360 didn't do that well. It was a better system overall in Japan, but it still didn't do all that well because of its necessity to be integrated into the whole of the house, which they were not a big fan of. That's just not something that you see a lot of in Japan. So when it really came down to it, it was more of a matter of, this is Microsoft making a power play to try to do everything they can to continue to have some form of a foothold, even if it's not a console foothold in Japan. That's what I feel like this is for. This has nothing to do with Sony. This has everything to do with the fact that they're trying to get a market share back in a country they just don't have it in. And I think because it feels like it's targeted for that, it feels like it's going to be kind of weird until we actually get more additional information. And just like Zig said, it does feel kind of epic-y. And
so
I get
that's
that.
a perfect transition right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hey, Mark, you want to segue into this new discussion about the Epic Store?
Well, I just wanted to talk about the Epic storefront in general because, okay, this was a thing that kind of sort of existed on the periphery of our gaming knowledge, shall we say, last year. Epic has been taking that Fortnite money and has been trying to create an actual proper storefront of sorts with their Epic client, which at this point basically just existed to host, you know, Fortnite Save the World and then later Fortnite Battle Royale. And they were kind of like, well, we're going to run this, that, and the other thing through this, and that was fine. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, yeah, and now we're going to start having exclusive games, and they got Hades, which was interesting. But, you know, at that point in time, it was still kind of an on the edge sort of thing. There weren't a lot of cases where there was anything for us to really like point and go, oh my god, about. Because Hades is, you know, it's Super Giant Games, it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal. And then in the past week, Epic got their big deal moment when they snatched Metro, whatever the fuck. Exodus, thank you. Metro Exodus as an exclusive title after it had been marketed on the Steam store for months as able to be pre-ordered. And, you know, the developers are saying that they're going to honor the Steam pre-orders, but they're not allowing anybody else to get it at this point, and Metro has kind of sort of been able to advertise itself as a PC game on this platform all this time, until they're all of a sudden, you know, like a couple of weeks out from launch, they're like, LOL deuces, and they're off to the Epic Store. Which has sort of created, you know, it's sort of created the response that you would expect that you're going to get from this, with people who are Steam stalwarts review bombing the other games in the Metro franchise, which, you know, I'm sure is going to do very well towards convincing Deep Silver et al. That they want to stay on a platform that allows for that sort of thing, except for one that doesn't. Like, that's really going to convince them to stay on Steam. But it's also very much a shots fired move. It's some major big dick energy from Epic who is putting themselves like out front, being like, okay, this is the big name game that we are going to have exclusively on our storefront for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to talk about that, and then I also kind of wanted to talk about the other related stuff that has been kind of sort of going on with how they do like profit sharing and things like that.
Now,
And
wasn't
how
there-
they have talked about their long-term plans for marketing the platform and things like that.
Wasn't there another game that just like another big game that's supposed to be coming out aside from Metro that said that they're not going to be releasing on Steam, they're going to be releasing on the Epic Store as well?
I have not heard anything, but it would not surprise me.
I did hear something.
Like there was another big title that a lot of people were like, it's going to be on Steam, and they're like, nope, we're only going to be releasing it on the Epic Store, and we're like, wait, what? Like I think it's interesting. It should be. I know there's another one. I can't remember what it is.
Hold on, I'm looking now because I definitely think I saw something about that. I'm looking. Yeah, keep on talking while I look. I'm just seeing if I can find it.
There was Metro Exodus was the most recent one, but
Right, but I thought there was like one that we had talked about a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know.
Damn, and I really feel like it's a big deal too. And I can't remember.
The Division 2. That's the one.
Right, that's the one. So
Division-
Ubisoft making this weird thing like we're not just going to release it on our own platform, which would be like that would be intelligent, right? Ubisoft of all people basically said we're going to release Division 2, but we're only going to release Division 2 on Epic. We're not going to release it on Steam, where the original Division is at. So it's like that's kind of a big deal. Like to see these sorts of games that we expect to be on a specific platform that are going to end up on Epic Store now. Which,
I mean,
I don't know if that feels like it's legitimizing Epic Store or if that feels like it's like just sort of showing that there is this dichotomy coming up in PC gaming all of a sudden, where now it's not just all about Steam. Now, Epic actually has games that people want to actually play on their platform aside from Fortnite to have some more, clout in the PC gaming market.
I'm going to step away for just a minute.
I mean, I don't personally have let me preface this by saying I'm not a big PC gamer. I have a gaming PC. I can play almost anything on PC if I wanted to. I just don't. I don't really play many PC games. I don't see the issue with it. I'm like, why does it care? Why do I care what app I double click on to load this game? And honestly, after the game is loaded and I've got the icon on my desktop or whatever, I'm not even opening the app. I'm literally just opening the game that's going to do everything in the background anyway.
Right.
So I'm like, why does it matter where I'm spending my money? And honestly, the Epic Game Store is almost certainly offering a better deal than Steam. They're taking a smaller percentage than Steam, which is why these games are jumping over to it. So if anything, buying these games from the Epic Game Store is actually helping the developers out more. Not that Ubisoft needs any help whatsoever, but I'm just saying, if a game is saying, hey, we're jumping over to the Epic Game Store, who cares? Is it really that big of a deal to create an account over at the Epic Game Store? Like, who cares?
I don't know that so from a perspective of someone who does PC game to a perspective of someone who doesn't, I think that there's a middle ground for what they're trying to kind of go for. And I think that middle ground is that there are still some people who are not like diehard PC gamers, but still game on the PC on a regular basis because of Steam, and are of the mind that having to have the worry about multiple launching programs, that's where it becomes difficult. Because
is it really multiple launching programs? Because I mean,
as of right now, there are four. There are four big launchers. It's Steam, Origin, Epic, and Uplay. Which,
But what I'm saying is, once I
whatever.
have the game downloaded, like once I've picked whatever platform I'm buying it on and I've bought it and I download it, I have the option at least to create an icon on my desktop, and I just double click that when I want to play the game.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, so
Some
why
people
does
don't do that though, because some people don't do that because some people's libraries are so large that they don't want to clutter their desktop with thousands of icons. They want
but at the same time,
one simple
you're not
icon that
playing
you have
all those
to launch
games
from.
at once. You know what I mean? Like how many games
Right.
is the average person actively playing at once? 3. You know?
Maybe.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
again,
saying.
it depends on if you're doing it all on the same or if you're doing it on like. To be fair, a lot of times you're going to see people playing at minimum 2 games at a time nowadays, and it's usually either PC or console and device. That's generally just how it functions. You know, someone's going to be on their phone at the same time that they're on a game because that's just sort of how they game now. That's the commonality. But when you're really boiling it down to it, it's just a matter of aesthetics for people. Like, that really is the argument. Is it worth my time to worry about loading multiple launchers and having multiple friends lists so that I can play the games that I want to play? This is the same argument I make about console gaming. I play the games to play the games. I don't care what console they're on. The only reason I got an Xbox One in the first place was purely for the Panzer Dragoon game and for Killer Instinct. That was literally the only reason I got it. And when they released Killer Instinct on Windows PC, I dropped my Xbox. Because at that point, I played the single-player game that I cared about, and now I'm working on the multiplayer game that I can play on a regular basis. Obviously, it's sad what ended up happening to the game because it was really strong through its first 2 seasons, and then Iron Galaxy took over and they dumped on it. But
Iron Galaxy took over at season 2.
Double
I
Helix
like
was
the game,
season
so
1
I
and
don't
season
care.
2.
No. Double Helix was out at the end of the first season.
Because they got bought by Amazon.
Yeah.
Right.
No, trust me, I remember
season-
this very clearly because
The
freaking
thing I'm
Iron
talking
Galaxy,
about-
I was upset at Iron Galaxy because they nerfed Saberwolf.
Well, but yeah, the other thing was, though, is that the concept of the second season characters were already created by Double Helix. So Microsoft already had their hands on what was going to be released in season 2. Season 3, however, was a completely different story, as that was given from Microsoft to Iron Galaxy to do what they wanted. Hence the reason why there was so many more guest characters versus originals or Killer Instinct style characters, which is why we saw things like Battletoads and,
I feel
we're
like I'm
gonna throw in
having
a
a
Gears of War
stroke.
reference. Yeah,
I feel like I'm having a stroke here. Why are we talking about Killer Instinct?
I don't know,
It
but
goes
let's go back to
it
the
goes
Epic
back to
Store.
the idea of it goes back to the idea of having multiple launchers for multiple systems, and that the idea is that certain games are going to be on certain platforms, and there are certain types of gamers who do not want to have multiple platforms to try to launch their games from.
Like, to
Yeah,
be
me.
And I
completely
think that's
honest,
where the
I don't want to
inherent
have
argument is
Origin,
at.
but that's the only way I can play, Mass Effect 3
Well, again,
or whatever.
Part of it comes back to the idea of the multiple streaming services conversation. Although it's not quite as bad because with multiple streaming services, you're paying some type of a monthly rate to keep them all going. Whereas here, it's just you just have to know where your games are. So if you have, the GOG launcher, you have Steam, you have Epic, you have Origin. It's like that's 4 different store apps where you have to be like, well, this is installed here and this is installed here and blah 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 blah.
But you don't have to know where things are installed because anything you're actively playing is on your hard drive, and therefore you can literally access it directly from your hard drive, or put it on your desktop if you want. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you don't have to interact with these stores after you buy the game.
In some cases, there are things that you're going to have to interact with the stores for.
Right.
Dead by Daylight, as an example, does require interaction with Steam and with anti-cheat to
Denuvo.
function.
Well, yeah, there's also a lot of the games, like the Capcom games that use Denuvo. You have to have Steam loaded and running in the background for it to actually note that it's online to verify that the game is actually purchased. So
Okay,
DRM
but-
is another reason why you have to have different launchers.
But
because
if-
some launchers
if I
don't
have-
and some launchers do.
Well, let's just say whatever Monster Hunter, whatever game uses that, right? If I have that launcher on my desktop, I have the little double click for Monster Hunter on my desktop. If I double click that, it won't automatically open Steam in the background or whatever.
Right.
No, I'm asking you, like all
Most
the
of them do.
things
Yeah,
you need,
if-
doesn't it automatically do that?
if the DRM is associated with that game and it's associated with Steam, yes, it will load Steam before it launches the actual game, because Steam is a launcher. So the game itself, when you create a desktop link for your game in Steam, it creates a Steam run link. So it loads Steam and then launches the game through Steam. So
Right.
Steam
So
must
then
be
I
open
don't
for
need
those
to worry
games to
about-
actually functioningly work.
Right. So then I don't need to worry about, again, which platform
Once
I
you've
bought it through. If I'm
Right,
double
but
clicking
that's-
on the game, it does it automatically, right?
Right, but you're on the side of the devil's advocate of I don't care. Most of the people, however, do, and that's where the line is drawn. Like Hub said, I don't want to have Origin, but I have to have Origin if I want to play XYZ, because these are the only platforms where these games exist now. So if I want to play Mass Effect 1 and 2, if I already owned them on Steam, I can play them on Steam, because they're not going to get rid of the DRM for that. But if I want to own them now, say I get a new system or a new account, or something happens to my old Steam account and I can't play 1 and 2 anymore. The only way I can play Mass Effect 1 and 2 now is if I download Origin, and I have to repurchase all 3 of the games again. That's just the only way that it works. So, like you said originally, I don't care if I have to get multiple different launchers, because I'm going to just download them, purchase them off the store, and then I don't have to worry about the launcher anymore. That's the thing, is that people want solidarity. It's the same thing with consoles. They want to be able to play their games in one consistent environment. They don't want to have to worry about whether or not they need to get Epic or Steam or Origin in order for them to be able to play the game they want to play. So it really just boils down to, is this really worth it for the gamers themselves to want to actually play the games on multiple platforms? Or are they just going to play the games to play the games?
And not only that, it's also worth noting that, like, Steam, as an example, provides a great organizational end user interface for if you want to, just know what games you have available immediately, what's installed, what's not installed, and what you can play. Like, I don't want to have 30 shortcuts to the games that I'm playing on my desktop or in a folder on my
But you're
desktop.
also not actively playing 30 games.
Listen, you don't know me.
I absolutely know you're not actively playing 30 games, because you probably don't even
I am
have
actively playing like 10 games right now. I
Okay,
am
that's
not
not
even
30.
kidding.
That's a third of 30.
That's still a lot of games. And I can have stuff installed that I want to go to. Like, I have like 40 Steam games installed right now that I jump between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kane says, I believe Mark is, at least if you include mobile. See? He knows what's up.
We aren't including mobile, though, because you don't have Epic Store Mobile. I guess you do have Epic Store Mobile. No, you don't.
Yeah,
you do. Yeah, well, no,
Fortnite
okay,
is a thing.
so I know.
Bitch, I got
Fortnite's not
Nox.
on the store. Fortnite's
Bitch,
on the
I got
store.
Nox. Got that shit installed on my PC.
On my PC. I mean, right.
But yeah, there's definitely an argument that having one platform is going to make it easier to organize the different games that you're going to have installed. Like, you may have some games that you have installed where you bounce back and forth, where you just don't want to have the shortcuts on your desktop. You don't want to have them in a folder on your desktop. You just it's like having iTunes instead of having a folder full of your MP3s. There's something to be said for that unified storefront.
Mm-hmm.
Kane's point also that these developers, like these storefront owners, generally are going to have your payment information stored unless you're manually entering your payment info every single time, or you're using PayPal with all of them, which I know is an option for Steam. I know is an option for Origin. I've never paid for anything through Epic, so I don't know, but I imagine it must be. Like, unless you're using PayPal, which is its own, or you're having your payment information stored everywhere, that could potentially, open you up to security issues. And we've seen that, the Steam storefront, Battle.net, Bethesda's freaking.
I mean, Bethesda's. Everything is going to have a security issue. There's always a possibility of somebody's information getting leaked or somebody hacking a specific thing. Like, I mean, for fuck's sake, PSN got hacked, twice in the span of a year? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's always going to be possible for somebody to hack that system. Like, that isn't the issue here. People aren't inherently worried about their contact information getting fucking hacked.
Which they probably should be, but that's neither here nor there.
But
the issue is you have 6 different places to have this spread around, so you're 6 times more likely to see a breach in a calendar year than you would be if you just had it in one.
I mean, my whole thing, and again, this is coming from somebody who doesn't really PC game that much, but this seems like, yeah, sure, it'd be easier to just have one store and you're done. But having multiple stores, or in this case, adding the Epic store, just seems like a minor inconvenience that people are going apeshit about.
Absolutely.
You know, like I get it. Sure, it'd be nice if I only had one console and I could just play all my Sony, my Nintendo, my Microsoft games on the one console. It's a minor inconvenience for me to have to switch consoles.
Right.
A modern day Super Gen Atari.
Yeah, you know, I'm just saying, like I get the issues with it, but it still just seems like nothing more than a minor inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. It's just like that's specifically a conversation that is coming up around this. For me, I'm kind of more interested in the aspect of how Epic is handling their particular storefront, because there are some definite positives and negatives in how they're dealing with things that are giving me some pause here.
Right.
For one thing, they've indicated that they're not going to have forums and they're going to have a ticketing system so that you can directly message devs if you have some type of an issue with the game, so that, like, they're trying to prevent review bombing. They're trying to prevent toxic bullshit happening, which, good. You know,
I mean, isn't YouTube working on an algorithm that helps to review bomb stuff like too, where like tons of negatives hit because they don't like the not so much the content, but they're trying to stop the exact same kind of thing. Like, I think that's just like a generality across the board. Of course, mind
you, they didn't start working on that until one of their end of the year videos got review bombed. Because
the YouTube Rewind 2019 was
PewDiePie wasn't in it.
Oh, good. Nobody cared about PewDiePie. Fuck him.
Well, they did, and that they mass downvoted that video to the point where YouTube was like, "Hey, for years, content creators have been coming to us and saying, you know, alt-right dipshits have been review bombing our stuff. Do something about it." And they're like, "No." But as soon as like one of their videos gets like mass downvoted, they're like, "Well, got to fix that problem."
Right? Who knew? But anyway, like, I think that inherently it's just a matter of, this really boils back down to console wars. Like, I think that's just as simple as that. People want to do, like, once you get to a point where people are saying, like, okay, so we have Xbox, we have PlayStation, we have Switch. Like, those are the consoles, right? And then, like, people are like, well, this is basically the console wars all over again, but it's on PC. Now it's the PC wars. You've got Steam, you've got Origin, you've got Epic, you know. All these people are saying that, like, the games they want are on these platforms, so the only way you can do it is by downloading multiple platforms, which, again, in most indications is moot. It's just a matter of having to have multiple plausibly bloated programs on your system running a launcher specifically so that you can play these games. And I think that's where the big problem comes from. It's not as cut and dry as, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, it's a minor problem. It is a minor problem, but people are blowing it out of proportion because of the fact that, like, ooh, they're taking shots at Valve. Ooh, it's like, it's not anything that, it's not like Epic is taking shots at Valve. Maybe they are in the idea of what they're doing in terms of, you know, how they monetize things or how they, you know, pay out to the developers. Maybe, I don't know, but it could be that, it could be something completely different. It's difficult to really say at this point because we just don't see the Steam is still Steam. Everyone's going to use Steam because the majority of the games on PC that people are going to play are on Steam because they just have a library for it. They just do. All of the games that you want to play are on Steam. So to have to get something like Origin, which is predominantly all EA, or to get something like Epic, which is predominantly all Epic, it's difficult because it's like, well, if if I want to just play it, why isn't it just on Steam? It makes everything consistent. It makes everything collective, and there's no reason to want or to need multiple launchers specifically to play these games other than these companies are trying to make Steam money. And I think it's superfluous at this point because it's like, it's a good idea, but is it really worth it in the end to want to have multiple launchers to play the games based on being a developer versus just having one section, one collective company that hosts all of these games, DRM or no DRM, depending on who makes the game and whether or not they want it associated with it. And just having that's your platform. That's where the games go.
So, out of all these, storefronts now that we have, we got the two oldest running ones right now, GOG and Steam. The three newbies, we got the Epic, we got Origin, and we got the Bethesda store. Which one do you see disappearing first?
I don't think any of them are going away.
No,
I have a feeling that I personally feel like it will get crowded at some point. Like everybody seems to be wanting to do this storefront shindig. Like the major publishers, the major companies anyway. I mean, Epic's throwing their hat into it. Bethesda threw their hat into it end of last year, and
the only reason that you're seeing all these stores pop up is probably because these developers and these publishers think that Valve is charging too much. Because the only reason to have, other than having the user information, which is very lucrative, having that information is lucrative. Beyond that aspect of it, if you buy a game on the Uplay store, Ubisoft doesn't pay anything to anybody else. They literally get 100% of whatever you spend. It goes to Ubisoft.
And I believe they did say the Epic Store would be giving a much larger cut to the publishers of the games.
Exactly. And the only reason to create your own store beyond, again, having that user information is because you don't want to pay Valve that whatever cut that is, whether that's 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever it is. That's also the reason why they're pushing digital, because they don't want to pay Best Buy 30%. They don't want to pay for
they don't want to have to worry about. At this point, I think the biggest argument for a lot of this is the fact that people are still having to pay brick and mortar prices on a digital platform. Why do I still have to pay $60? And the only reason that was $60 in the first place was because companies were buying shelf space and they had to make up the shelf space money. Otherwise, AAA titles would be like $30 and $40. Just honest, I think they would be far cheaper if this digital platforming was actually done the way it should be versus basically using Steam and digital platforming as a launch pad for a digital shelf. Or in a case like that, making it in such a way that Devil May Cry 5. Big game, everyone's going to buy it. It's going to be on multiple platforms. It costs the same on Steam as it does in GameStop. Why? Why is that a thing?
I agree 100% with that, but I also feel like one of the reasons why that is because let's say Devil May Cry 5, right? Let's say if you bought it on Steam, it was $35, and you buy it at Best Buy, it's $60, right? The whole problem there is how many people are going to buy it at Best Buy when you can get it almost half price on Steam?
Because some people don't have the ability to actually download the game via the internet.
And it's literally going to be only those people.
Right, exactly.
And even still, how many of those people will just go to their local library or to Starbucks, plug in and download so they can save that $25? Because there will be those people as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's why I think that the digital market had... this has always been my argument. The digital market is set up in such a way right now that it's really difficult for you to be able to do stuff. And the reason why I say that is because I think it's really difficult for you to be able to basically say, hey, look, here's this great new title, but you still have to pay $20 for it because I still have to purchase digital shelf space on Steam or on Origin or Epic or wherever I end up selling it because that's who wants it. But then you end up in a place where it's like, well, I've got this great game, but I have to charge, $50 for it. Otherwise, I'm not going to make up my losses on, what's actually being purchased at this point, purely because of the fact that I have to appease the brick and mortars. That's literally what this is about, and what it's always been about since internet speeds have gotten finally to a point where we're capable of being able to basically say, I can download a 45 gigabyte game in about an hour and a half, depending on your internet connection. Now, we're saying 45 gigs 5 or maybe even 7 years ago, you would have been laughed out of your room.
I have to say, I mean, honestly, I think the real question here is, how large are the hard drives going to be on the next Xbox and PS5?
I would say probably. That's the real question. I wouldn't be surprised if the price jumped up to $70.
Well, no. I'm just talking about, like, because right now, right, the Xbox ships with what, a 1 terabyte. That's the biggest you can get.
In most cases, yes, a 1 terabyte.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, the next gen of consoles, you need to ship with like 1.5 to 2 minimum.
So I think in a case of what is going to be cost effective versus what is actually going to be in the systems, let's be honest, there are still some people who can get Xbox Ones with 500 gig hard drives.
Yeah. But I'm looking at Amazon right now because I'm curious as to what the cheapest 2 terabyte hard drive is.
Like $100.
I can get a 3 for like $100.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on who you're buying it from,
like
but
Seagate,
it also depends on if you're buying an internal SSD versus an external SSD.
Like this external right here, Seagate cost me like $50, 2 terabytes.
Yeah, here.
And I think a lot of it's.
Here's an HP internal for $40. So I think it's very reasonable, and this is buying one. If I'm buying in bulk, large bulk, that price drops to 30, maybe even 25. So I think it's very reasonable that next gen consoles ship with a 2 terabyte internal hard drive.
Should be no
because the whole thing is like games are only going to get larger, and more people are buying digital. Like EA just released their financials saying that I think they said 46% of the games purchased in 2018 were digital. You know, so we're almost at that 50% mark.
It's a saturation point. It's a saturation point. I think that in the next 5 years, we're going to see consoles coming out with a minimum of a 5 terabyte hard drive. Minimum.
And
however,
I get all my games free, and I hate it when they send me physical copies. Like, I loathe it. I'm like, what is wrong with you sending me this physical copy? And I get all my games for free.
Here's the thing, though.
I'll take them off your hands.
I mean, anyway.
Well, no. I still have to have the game. I'm just like, give me a code, so it takes 3 seconds for me to get this. Don't send me this old-fashioned, outdated cardboard box.
Here's how I'm gonna end it. Like, this is my last sort of say on it. The reason why, and this kind of goes back to like, what if the people like don't have an internet that actually have the ability to download the game, which is why you spend $35 or $40 to get a game when you go to GameStop at 60 or Best Buy at 60. Convenience. That's it. It's purely because it's convenience. You buy a ticket for a movie online, you have to pay a convenience fee.
Unless I'm an AMC Subs member.
Again, the basic consumer generally isn't. I'm just going off of a baseline. I get that. And depending, some theaters have that, some theaters don't have that. So if I go to like a Regal, the Regal Club Card is only going to give me a discount if I actually use it on specific movies. So like new releases, they have to be in the theater for X amount of time before I'm capable of getting that convenience fee waived. If you're way out east, some of those bigger theaters don't exist. So you're stuck with whatever the small, like Marco and Cinema Theater and all these other littler companies that are subsidiaries, they don't honor those cards, or the cards that they have are specific to like in-house items that you purchase when you go there. But a baseline consumer, if I go to movietickets.com or Fandango, there's a convenience fee for purchasing those tickets. This is the same concept as a brick and mortar GameStop or Best Buy or Walmart having the games on their shelves versus being able to go onto something like Origin or Steam to download the game at maybe 3/4 of the price. That's the main reason why this is still a thing. And the main reason why there is still a uniform price across all these platforms is because they are still trying to compete with a brick and mortar concept that is either fading or has reached a point where the only people that are doing it are the people that live in areas that don't technically or generally have the ability or the speeds that are necessary. Because let's be honest, in the States, we are lagging so far behind on the internet that we generally don't have a lot of people that can do something like that in a reasonable amount of time. I digress. That's another argument for another time. It's all about convenience. And the problem is that we're technically having this convenience be reversed on us, where we're paying more for a digital copy than we are for a physical copy in most cases. Where I think that maybe it should be the other way around. If you're going to charge $60 for a game, it should only be $60 online. If I'm going to go pick it up in a store and get a physical copy, I should only have to pay $45 for it because I'm actually taking the time to get out of my house, go to the brick and mortar, and pick up a copy.
Well, yeah, but that's a huge markup. That's a huge convenience fee. You know what I mean? That's a hefty convenience fee. That's way more than that $1.50 that Fandango charges me.
Exactly. But you understand where I'm coming from in that this is why this is still a controversy. And this is why, again, having the concept of multiple launchers becomes a little bit more complicated than just multiple launchers. Now you get to a point where you can have that conversation being, what if now all of a sudden the Epic launcher decides, hey, we're going to launch Division 2, it's only $40 because it's all digital. We're not going to let you get the physical version. It's only digital and it's only $40. What happens now? Now you've received a AAA title from a larger company, Ubisoft, at a greater reduced price than what you thought. It starts to move more copies and they make the funds back on the building of the game. This is where people start to see this inherent issue of, is the Epic launcher really going to be some form of slap in the face to Steam and Valve, or is it really just another gimmick?
Well, but see, then you also look at like to Zig's statement here, right? So let's say Epic's taking only 12% and Valve's taking 30%, right? Mm-hmm. So then the question is to Ubisoft, for example, with Division 2. Why aren't you giving us back that 18% by lowering the price of the game? Even if you met us halfway and lower the price of the game by, say, $10. Mm-hmm. You know, why aren't we getting that? Because that's just Ubisoft being like, nope, we're gonna make more money and we're gonna pocket this more money.
Exactly.
You know, so then it's literally on the developer. Like, why aren't you giving us some of those savings that Epic is passing on to you?
Exactly. And I think that's where the argument comes. It's like, you know, what's really going to end up being the best option for the actual developers? And are they going to start moving to these other smaller platforms because now they can charge less to the general public and give back more in content? Or are they going to be able to keep the price the same with the baseline markup, make more money for the company, and continue to provide content? It's a matter of where is that line going to be drawn.
But honestly, then you look at it, and this is the last point that I'll make. But if you look at so Epic brings in these larger publishers to kind of build their base of Epic Store users, right? Mm-hmm. So then you get your little indie developer that, you know, doesn't want to charge $15 for the game because they're worried about sales, but has to charge $15 because they have to be able to live off of this. Mm-hmm. And they then go, oh, the Epic Store user base has grown by millions because of the Division 2 and Metro Exodus. Now I can go sell my game over here for the $10 that I know it will sell for, like sell well at, and not have to worry about, is it going to sell well at this price I have to charge because Valve is taking X amount of dollars from me.
Right, because now we're on the Fortnite platform, or now we're on the Division platform versus, well, you can find it on Steam. Oh, can I now?
So I mean, it's just like it almost enables more smaller developers. Mm-hmm. And when I say small, I mean like 2-3 person teams. It enables those smaller developers who are selling these $15 games and then go, oh, now we can sell this game for $12 or $10, where, you know, a percentage more people will buy it. And we're still making the same profits as if we sold it for $15 on Valve. On Steam. You know, so there's positives to having the Epic Store doing what they're doing, you know, and I think those positives are worth the minor convenience of people having to have multiple store launchers.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, to be truthfully honest, I think it's about time we wrap things up here. Damn, that was one hell of a conversation between the two of you.
Honestly, I think the conversation was it was just a conversation because we're agreeing on basically every point. We're just bringing up all the points that are to consider here.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're gonna wrap things up right now, and real quick, let's just go around. Jan, what do you got going on?
I'm back to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. Times are still kind of up in the air. This week and next week are going to be my normal times, but after that, things are going to be a little difficult to understand where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing, since apparently I'm supposed to be doing nighttime shifts at work now, so I don't quite understand what's going on yet, because they keep saying, yes, you are taking this shift. No, you're not taking this shift. So, yikes. I don't know. Once I am a little bit closer to the end of next week, I will know for sure what my schedule is going to be once I'm actually out of nesting. So it'll be a little easier for me to kind of understand where I'm going with streaming and what I'm going to be doing here. So once I know a little bit more, I will let you guys know, and we will go from there.
All right, Mark, what do you got going on?
I'm going to be streaming on Saturday. That's it.
Okay, anything in particular?
Probably board games. I haven't figured out anything beyond that yet.
Okay. And Brian, what you got going on?
Not a whole lot. Prima might not be gone. I don't have full details yet or anything I can at least talk about yet, but Prima might not be gone. So I should know more. I'll know I'll know this month for sure whether it's staying or going, but it's looking very promising that it is not going. So
well,
it may be different than what it is now. Like it'll still be, primarily strategy content and all that kind of stuff. But the print guide side of it, I think, is done. I don't think you're going to see the print side of it come back. And the e-guides, I think, like the existing database will still remain, but I don't think we're going to sell new e-guides. But you are going to see all the free content that is there now will continue in addition to more content on top of that. So it looks like that's where we're going. Like I said, I don't. There's not enough confirmation for me to say one way or the other, but that's the direction it looks like it's going.
All right. Cool. And tomorrow is another stream for me. It's 3 Vets and a Noob. We haven't decided what we're going to play, but we are going to be updating PSO2 just in case. So feel free to tune into that tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Next episode of GVN Live will be, if the date thing can come up,
19th?
February 19th. So there you go. Keep it in the books, everybody. February 19th will be the next episode. I want to thank Brian, Jan, and Mark for joining me tonight. Everybody that has tuned in to watch us, thank you. And from all of us here, have yourself a wonderful night.